So think back to last Tuesday, like right around 2 p.m. What exactly were you doing?
Or who are you even talking to? What did you feel?
Right. And chances are, unless your office literally caught on fire or, I don't know, you won the lottery, your brain has completely deleted that footage. I mean, it is just gone.
Yeah, it's totally wiped.
So welcome to the deep dive. Today we were unpacking a really fascinating source text called Architecting the Extraordinary, The Power of Created Moments. And our mission today is to explore this massive question. Are the most powerful, unforgettable experiences in your life just these lucky accidents? Or are they actually things you can actively design?
Because we usually treat the big milestones, a graduation, a wedding, a major promotion, as these massive serendipitous events that just sort of happen to us on a timeline. We just wait for them.
Yeah, we just stand around.
Exactly. But the source material we're examining today completely flips that script. It argues that the most meaningful moments, they don't just happen, they're engineered. Engineered? Yeah. And the implications of that are actually profound because it fundamentally changes how we interact with our own lifespan.
It really does, because our usual approach to life's great memories, it's essentially like waiting around for a winning lottery ticket to miraculously blow into our hands, you know?
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
We just cross our fingers, go about our routines, and hope a great day happens to us. But what this text suggests is that we haven't realized we actually own the printing press.
Yeah.
Like, we can print the tickets ourselves.
Yes. The shift here is from passive time consumption to active architectural design. We often operate like a car dash cam, right? One that automatically deletes old, uneventful footage just to save space on the hard drive.
Because there's only so much room.
Exactly. And unless we actively press the save button, the day just vanishes into the ether. So this text is basically an instruction manual on how to press that save button. And not just for ourselves, but for the people around us too.
Okay, but before we figure out how to press that button and actually create extraordinary moments,
Yeah.
I think we have to understand the baseline. Like, we have to understand why so much of our life fades into the background in the first place.
We do. And the source uses the story of a young employee named Alex to illustrate this.
Yeah, Alex is stuck in the absolute blueprint of boredom.
The ultimate rut.
Truly. He wakes up, he commutes, answers emails, goes home, sleeps, and repeats. And the text points out that in this loop, days blur into weeks, and weeks just simply vanish.
And to understand why that blur happens, we really have to look at the mechanics of the brain. From a neurological standpoint, our brains are basically ruthless efficiency machines.
They don't want to waste energy.
Right. They operate on a system called predictive coding. So when you establish a strict, unchanging routine, like Alex's daily commute and his whole workflow, your brain knows exactly what is going to happen next.
It's completely predictable.
Completely. And because it can predict the environment perfectly, it shifts cognitive processing into the basal ganglia, which is the habit center. You just go into autopilot to conserve metabolic energy.
Wait, so because nothing new or threatening is happening, the brain literally just stops recording?
Exactly. The brain only wants to spend energy encoding high-resolution memories if the information is actually useful for future survival or, like, social standing.
Wow.
So if Tuesday is exactly the same as Monday, the brain deems the footage totally useless. The ordinary life loop actively erases our perception of time.
That is terrifying, honestly.
But then?
There's a disruption in Alex's loop. The text lays out this very specific turning point.
Right.
So Alex goes to a quarterly review meeting. He expects the usual boring presentations. I mean, he is fully braced for the autopilot to just continue.
He's tuned out.
Completely. But his manager suddenly pauses the meeting, stands up, and spends 2 minutes publicly recognizing Alex's hard work on a really difficult project.
And the critical distinction the text makes here is about the weight of that memory. Like 10 years later, Alex still remembered this specific meeting.
But not because it was long.
No, not at all. He didn't remember it because it was some extravagant ceremony. He remembered it because of how it made him feel in that highly concentrated window of time.
He felt seen.
Yes, seen, valued, and appreciated. The brevity of the interaction. I mean, it was just a couple of minutes. That did absolutely nothing to diminish its permanence.
So, okay, question. Why does the brain suddenly wake up and hit save for a 2-minute compliment, but it just happily deletes the other 8 hours of the workday?
It's all about contrast. The brain was predicting monotonous meeting, right? but it received public validation.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, that prediction error completely shatters the routine. It triggers a sudden spike of neurotransmitters, specifically dopamine and noradrenaline.
The wake-up chemicals.
Exactly. These chemicals act like a highlighter pen in the hippocampus. They basically signal to the brain, hey, wake up. Something unexpected and highly valuable is happening right now. Store this permanently.
Okay, so if a chemical spike is what snaps us out of autopilot, how do we intentionally replicate that? Like, if Alex's experience wasn't just a random stroke of luck, if his manager essentially engineered that disruption, what are the actual mechanics behind doing that?
Well, the source breaks down the secret of memorable moments into 4 specific components. And the first one is what the text calls elevation.
Elevation, right. These are moments that rise above the mundane through surprise or joy or just sensory engagement.
Yes. Elevation is the engineered disruption. It's the sensory or emotional peak that forces the prediction error we just talked about.
Because it breaks the pattern.
Exactly. If you want to pull someone out of their habit loop, you have to break the script. I mean, Alex's manager could have just sent a standard good job email.
Which Alex would have forgotten by the next morning.
100%. Because that would have followed the script. The public, unexpected, highly vocal nature of the praise is what broke the script and created elevation.
But just breaking the script isn't enough, is it? I mean, someone pulling the fire alarm in the office breaks the script, and it definitely elevates your heart rate.
It sure does.
But it doesn't create a profoundly meaningful life memory. It just creates panic and annoyance. So the text pairs elevation with a second component to solve this, which is insight.
Right, because elevation provides the opening. It shocks the system into paying attention. But insight is what actually fills that opening.
Okay, how does the text define insight?
Insight is a sudden realization that changes how we see ourselves or the world around us. The text argues that a single profound insight can permanently alter a person's trajectory because it essentially rewires their mental model of reality.
So, to put it in movie terms, elevation is the sudden, shocking plot twist that makes you physically sit up in your chair and, like, drop your popcorn.
Yeah, I love that.
Right. You're suddenly paying 100% attention to the screen. But insight is the quiet scene right after, where the main character finally understands their true purpose in the story.
Yay.
You need the twist to grab your attention, but you need the realization to give the story actual meaning.
That is a perfect analogy. Without the plot twist, the audience is asleep. But without the realization, the twist is just a cheap jump scare that you forget by the time you leave the theater.
Exactly.
To architect an extraordinary moment, you have to pair the sensory peak with the internal realization. So for Alex, the elevation was the surprise of his name being called in a dead silent room.
And the insight.
The insight was the sudden cognitive reframing. He realized his work actually mattered and that he was highly capable. He went from feeling like an invisible cog to feeling like an essential player.
Okay, I have to push back here for a second, because I really struggle with the word engineering when it comes to human connection.
Oh, you're definitely not alone in that.
Like, if we are actively trying to manufacture a plot twist to trigger an insight in someone else, or even in ourselves, doesn't that make the memory fake?
It sounds a bit clinical.
Right. Doesn't forced spontaneity ruin the actual magic of a genuine experience? If I know I'm setting up a moment to feel a certain way, doesn't the manipulation just cancel out the authenticity?
That is honestly the most common hesitation people have with this framework, and it's a really vital distinction to make. The text addresses this by clarifying that you are not engineering the emotion itself. You are architecting the environment.
Architecting the environment, okay.
Think of it like building a greenhouse. You cannot force a plant to grow by grabbing its leaves and just pulling upward.
No, that would kill it.
Right. But you can control the temperature, you can control the nutrients in the soil, and the amount of light. So by purposefully breaking the script, creating elevation, you are simply building the greenhouse.
You're setting the conditions.
Exactly. The insight, the joy, the realization, those things still happen entirely organically. You are just drastically increasing the probability of them occurring by setting the stage.
Okay, I can buy that. You're setting the stage, not forcing the actors to cry on cue.
Yeah.
But disrupting the routine and having a sudden realization is really only half the battle.
It is.
Because the text argues that for a moment to be permanently stamped into our identity, it needs anchors. It has to be tied to our sense of self and our relationships. Which brings us to the third component, pride.
Yes, pride, at least in this psychological context, is the ultimate validator of the self. It is the proof that the insight we just talked about is actually real.
And the text notes that pride doesn't just happen from, like, unearned praise.
No, definitely not.
It is forged by finishing a really difficult challenge, achieving a long-term goal, or pushing through intense friction and fear.
And there's a deep evolutionary reason for this. Overcoming friction requires massive energy expenditure.
Which the brain hates.
Right, so when you push through fear or exhaustion to achieve a goal, your brain wants to ensure you remember the reward, so you will actually repeat that survival behavior in the future.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
It codes hard-won achievements with immense emotional weight. Like you can have a sudden insight that you are a resilient person, but pride is the moment you cross the finish line of the marathon and actually provide the undeniable physical evidence to your own brain.
You prove it to yourself.
Exactly.
And the text pairs this internal anchor of pride with a crucial external anchor, which is the fourth component, connection.
Connection, yes.
Connection involves bonding with others through shared meaning or struggle or love. And the research highlighted in the source is incredibly striking on this point.
It really is.
Like when you ask people to recount their most enduring, treasured memories, the vast majority of them involve other people.
Because connection ties our internal experience to the world around us. It leverages our evolutionary biology as tribal creatures. We survive through communal bonds, so the brain heavily prioritizes memories that reinforce our social safety net.
So how do pride and connection actually interact? Because honestly, they seem almost opposed in practice sometimes.
How do you mean?
Well, does putting your head down and isolating yourself to study for a grueling exam
Mm-hmm.
or training alone at 4 a.m. for a solo athletic event, does that pursuit of pride naturally lead to connection? Or does the blind pursuit of pride actually threaten connection?
That's a great point. The pursuit of pride, when it's completely isolated from connection, often leads to a very hollow victory.
Interesting.
The text implies that you can lock yourself in a room for 2 years to write a novel, and you will absolutely experience a massive surge of pride when you type the end.
Sure.
But if you don't share that accomplishment with anyone, the memory decays much faster, and the emotional resonance fades. The most powerful created moments purposefully intertwine the two.
So it's kind of like climbing Mount Everest completely alone versus climbing it with a dedicated team.
Yes, perfect.
You get the pride either way, but the connection provides the witness. It's almost like the memory needs a witness to become immortal.
Beautifully said. You endure the isolation to achieve the difficult goal, that's the pride. But you intentionally design the finish line so your community is there to experience the culmination with you. That's the connection.
You have to be the architect of both the struggle and the shared celebration.
Exactly.
So now that we have the deep mechanics, right, we've got elevation, insight, pride, and connection, we really need to look at how this changes a life in practice.
Let's do it.
Let's return to Alex to see how this framework actually transformed him. Because his big realization wasn't just that his manager's praise was a nice one-off event. His realization was that he didn't need to wait around for authority figures or serendipity to create special moments for him.
He took ownership of the printing press.
He really did.
He stopped being a passive consumer of his circumstances and became an active architect. And that shift in agency, that is the entire crux of the source material.
And the text gives these really visceral examples of what that actually looked like for him. Because he didn't just adopt a, positive mindset.
Right, it wasn't just thinking happy thoughts.
No, he started manufacturing elevation and connection on random Tuesdays. For instance, instead of just sending a generic thanks on a messaging app when a coworker helped him out, he would walk over to their desk, perhaps bring them their favorite coffee, and specifically name the exact thing they did that saved a project.
He broke the script of the office routine.
Exactly. He broke the script.
And in doing so, he provided elevation, which was the unexpected face-to-face interaction and the coffee, and insight, by showing them the direct, measurable impact of their work.
He was building the greenhouse for them.
He was. But he also started engineering pride for himself. The text notes he began breaking massive, overwhelming work projects into smaller, distinct milestones.
Oh, that's smart.
And crucially, he would purposefully take his team out to lunch or organize a small celebration every single time they hit one of those milestones.
Right, he was designing the finish lines.
Yeah.
He wasn't waiting for the end-of-year annual review to finally feel pride. He was creating micro moments of it and instantly tying it directly to connection with his team.
He was forcing his brain to hit save over and over again.
And it worked, right?
It absolutely worked. The outcome detailed in the text is a profound improvement in his baseline psychological well-being.
Oh.
His relationships deepened, his engagement at work skyrocketed, and his perception of time literally slowed down.
Because the days stopped blurring together.
Yes, his brain was constantly recording these high-value, emotionally salient moments.
Which really leads us to what I think is the core thesis of the entire text. Life is measured by the moments we remember, not the number of days we live.
Oh, absolutely.
If you lived for 90 years, but your brain was on autopilot for 85 of them, and you only actively remember a handful of scattered milestones, did you really experience a 90-year life?
That is the big question, isn't it? And the source provides a central quote that crystallizes this perfectly. It says, "The moments that matter most are rarely accidents. They are opportunities we choose to create."
That is so.
If we analyze that, it is a complete paradigm shift. It removes the power from fate or luck or circumstance and places it squarely in your hands. You are actively shaping the raw material of time into something extraordinary.
It's like realizing you've been sitting in the passenger seat of your own life for years, and suddenly you look down and realize you have the keys and the steering wheel right in front of you.
You've been driving the whole time.
You just didn't know it.
Yeah.
So the ultimate takeaway from this deep dive is incredibly clear. If you want a richer, more memorable life, you cannot wait for the universe to hand you a profound experience.
You can't just hope for it.
No, you have to actively build the greenhouse. Break the script of your routine to create elevation. Seek out and facilitate new perspectives to generate insight. Take on the difficult friction to build pride. And above all, make sure you are actively sharing that journey with the people you love to forge connection.
And as you look at the raw material of your own life and start applying this framework, keep in mind the really poignant final thought from our source material.
Which is?
It captures a fundamental truth about human memory. Years from now, people will likely forget the exact details of what you achieved. They will almost certainly forget the exact words you said to them, but they will never, ever forget how you made them feel.
That is so powerful. Armed with the knowledge that you can architect the extraordinary, I want to leave you with one final lingering question to mull over.
I love this part.
Look closely at your schedule for tomorrow. Find that completely ordinary, routine interaction that you are already kind of dreading. How can you break the script? What is the one specific thing you can do to turn that mundane moment into an opportunity for elevation or connection?